Hello and welcome back to my channel. Dr. Renee here, and I am super excited to bring you today's video. I am actually sharing with you an interview I did in my private holistic health community on Facebook called Happy, Healthy, Holistic with Dr. Renee. And it was an interview with my friend Rachel Brooks. I actually met Rachel in a Facebook virtual meeting. We're actually part of the same business group, and I was actually mentoring in that particular meeting. And I realized that Rachel and I have a lot in common. Aside from being in this group and both being entrepreneurs, we both blessed the stages of a bodybuilding competition in the past. And what I loved even more about Rachel is that she actually wrote a book called Chasing Perfection. And it spoke so loudly and clearly to me that I just knew that I had to have her on my Facebook group and an interview, and I had to share it here, and it's also on my podcast because we talk all things confidence. Now, in the show notes below, I'm going to put all the information about Rachel, including where to get a hold of her. But without further ado, let's get into the episode. All right. So welcome, Rachel. I'm so excited to have you.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. I know we had quite a bit to connect over the first time we met, and we said, oh, we have to definitely take this further. So yes, I'm glad that we're here.
Absolutely. And, I think it's a topic, I think it's talked about in a different way, how you're addressing confidence. And I'd love to hear more about how you're doing that. But tell us a little bit about yourself and sort of how you got where you are today, teaching women about confidence.
Yeah. So, well, to sum it up, I mean, we usually take our lessons through things that we have overcome or have experienced in our lives. And, leading up to actually my first competition, my fitness competition, it was a matter of really just, I didn't have the confidence I have now. For many years, I struggled with body dysmorphia, eating disorders, bouncing around from yo-yo dieting to the next fad dieting to self-image and self-esteem issues. And it really took a toll on me, like just physically, mentally, emotionally. And I just I got into fitness because I thought there was a way that if I looked a certain way, then I could feel good about myself. So when I started looking at into fitness in that aspect, I used fitness. And when I say that, it was like diet and exercise as a way to control and manipulate my body to become something physically aesthetic so that I would then like the image that I saw in the mirror, thinking it would boost my confidence and make me feel good. And, long story short, it's that didn't work out the way I planned. So I was chasing this ideal, which led me onto the fitness stage and entered my first competition. From our lessons, when I'm looking back at my life, I realized I was chasing perfection, thinking that it would outrun and outnumb the pain that I was actually in. And it really took hitting a rock bottom place that I was at to unravel and really find out who I was and why I got there, and really what that purpose is for myself and in my future. So it just, fitness was something I think it broke me, but yet it saved me. And I take all the lessons that I've applied or had learned through my fitness kind of training and the concepts and the approach and philosophies and everything, and now streamline those into other areas of my life. And for us to build confidence is actually something that's really cultivated from within. And the best way I could describe confidence is getting really good at doing something over and over again. And when we do, we become good at it, which it makes us just feel good from the inside out. And we take those, our strengths now, as we're developing our strengths and applying those to other areas of our lives. So, for me, I started, for something fitness that broke me, I got really good at it. And then putting it into other areas of our lives. So, for confidence, especially for women, I feel like it's something that we want, but we really don't know how to get it. And again, it's really about embodying that from the inside out.
Absolutely. And that's where, again, it really hit home that we were both on stage. For those that don't know, I was actually in bodybuilding myself. I was figure, we were two different divisions, but essentially going into it, it's the same
Yeah.
mental and physical
Training.
training, torture.
And
It's
it's
tough.
strict discipline. Yeah. And
Strict
that was
discipline.
what one of the greatest things that came out of it was discipline, and really the attention to yourself and that self-care, like being so in tune with who you are at that point, like what your body needs, giving it applicable rest. And like when you're a competitor, you have one goal, like you're training for a competition, which really helped cut out all the noise of everything else that was going on. So having that focus, linear focus of one goal, and just getting really good at, like I said, lining up, knocking it down. So every day you would work on your training, your nutrition, give your body the rest it needs, taking proper care of just everything, your mental, emotional, your spiritual well-being, while you're lifting and getting in shape physically. But you take the same principles and apply those to other areas of our lives. And so one of the things, like in my business, is really like streamlining one thing at a time. Get really good at one thing before you move on to the next thing, and so on. And like I said, when you get really good at one thing, confidence, it's like created and cultivated within us.
Mm-hmm. I find a lot of women, they're always like, I want to get as confident as you. And it's like, again, it's the practice thing. When you see me on video, you see me on social media, it's practice. I do a lot of live videos. I wasn't always, and I'm not saying I'm overly confident and I'm like this wonderful. I'm just saying it's exactly what you said. It's practice. It's just getting out, and I always say progress over perfection, one foot in front of the other, and just keep going and keep showing up. And, and I also find a lot of women, when they come to me, a lot of women put their self-confidence and self-esteem in their appearance.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes weight. I'd say all the time, I think 99+% of the women that come to me, on their top 3 to 5 goals is to lose weight. And in there also is they want to feel more confident, and they want to feel, better in their skin. And so where do we start with women? Weight loss takes time, right? You've got to have a lot of different things to address as far as healthy eating and such. Like, where do you start with women that come to you? Because I'm sure you're also getting women like that, because it's a big problem, and they equate their appearance with their self-worth. So where do we start with that thought?
Right. And so that's exactly where I started. I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. So I said, how can I fix it? I mean, everyone says, oh, diet and exercise, you'll get the body of your dreams. I'm like, okay, whatever that even means. Right.
Yeah.
So, but it ultimately, when women come to me, I understand where they want to be because I was there.
Mm-hmm.
But what they really need is to really identify with the attachment that they're putting to their weight. Like, why do they have to feel they have to weigh a certain way?
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of the work that I do is through mindset, working mentally and emotionally, because I know for me, there was a lot of emotional attachments to things,
Mm-hmm.
which hindered my mindset and like my beliefs about myself. So for me, I feel like you have to have both. And I know there's a lot of that belief where it's just mindset, but there's not enough emphasis on emotional healing as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't have one without the other because it sways us. So, for when clients come to me, it's really, I'm aware of it because I've done the work, and for myself as well as other clients. So I recognize these patterns. And so when we start breaking down those beliefs and the blueprint behind why we have to look and feel a certain way to get X, like whatever result you're after, that's really, through the process, it turns out it was never about the weight loss. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm working with the clients, they were so focused on the number on the scale, but by the time, we're done working together, or like our program runs out or whatever it may be, it's almost like, oh, it's not about the number. And I'm like, I know. And so we really have to work through those mental barriers that prevent us from becoming our best and most confident selves. And it really does attach or go back to the attachment of beliefs. Mm-hmm. And those beliefs become our thoughts, words, habits, and actions, and really working like a reverse engineer, working backwards to get to the root. And the root is where the healing is. And that typically comes from some sort of emotional, attachment on that as well. So I have that concept of getting fit from within, because our fitness, how we show up every day to train, physically is how we train mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And so having those three counterparts, our physical becomes a byproduct, a reflection of the inner work that we've done. So it's never about the weight loss, and it's never about the number on the scale or the size of your pants or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
because all that is created within. Everything you need is found within.
Mm-hmm. But that takes work.
Right.
And, and the field I'm in functional medicine, I don't get these women, because when women come to me, they know there's work involved as far as, and same with you, it's not, I'm going to give you a pill or a cream or whatever to magically make you happier, lose weight, healthy, better skin, whatever the goal may be.
Right.
And it does definitely take work. So, I did definitely think that woman that comes to you also knows, okay, this is going to take a little bit of digging deep. And I'm sure you uproot a lot, because you're talking about limiting beliefs, past, these thoughts. These thoughts are usually, and I do a ton of mindset work myself every single day. I think we're all doing it every day. But I find a lot of the things that I think now are from childhood, from things from our childhood that you sort of bury down, and you're like, and then one day you're like, oh, that's why I think, and it's not true. It's related, but you don't equate it to something that happened when you were 4 or 5 years old. Right. I mean, you might have to dig really deep, and it's, a lot of people think it's a thought, they're having from something that happened yesterday, the day before. It can go really, really deep. And, that's where you have to dig. Right.
Right. And that's the work I love doing. I mean, I had to uncover so much stuff. And so when we talk about that weight loss, it's like that metaphorical weight, when we're actually unpacking the baggage that we've been carting around for years upon years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like when we address what is actually holding us back, it's literally like this weight has been lifted off of us. So no, because we're carrying around this emotional baggage too.
Mm-hmm.
So not physically we're carrying excess weight, but this emotional, like this burden that we've been carrying. And so when we really identify those things, it's, emotionally, it's like that, again, coming to terms with what happened.
Yeah.
And realizing that we can't change the past. We can only, address things here and now to create the future we want. And, for us, especially, like, I mean, number one, they go back to childhood, because everything is streamlined from there. It's this foundation, we're sponges back then. And so, like, what happened to us is, we have that choice. Are we going to continue down the path of, allowing it to happen to us? Or are we looking at it now from a different perspective and asking it, how has it happened for us? What is the lesson in this? How can we let go of it? How can we redefine what used to be and use that as fuel into creating something bigger, better, greater for yourself? And I know for many, including myself, forgiveness was a huge part. And it wasn't about the forgiveness of other people. I had to forgive myself. And that was probably one of the hardest parts, because I know as women, we put so much pressure on ourselves to perform. And if we don't meet those expectations, we have that internal conversation. We might call ourselves names, or, say we're stupid or whatever it may be, but we end up taking that burden and that brunt of like everything that went wrong. And we have to learn to let go and forgive ourselves first. Absolutely. Because it's that freedom that we're creating from, that emotional attachment, and having the beliefs and the know-how and the mindset now. So combine that into other areas. And it's like, when we're at the gym working out, it's like everything, we become emotionally lighter, and our movements become easier, and our mood and spirit and everything just lifts up, and we just become like happy and like better. And I know it sounds like cheesy and easier said than done, but it really is the process of unraveling and letting go and detaching, so that you're not carrying around all this weight. And it's freeing. It's so freeing.
How do you teach women to get to that belief, that limiting belief? Like, is she journaling? How do you do this?
A lot of the work that I do is through journaling, whether journaling or writing, whatever. Some people don't feel like they're creative enough in that sense where they want to journal, like this Dear Diary kind of thing. But it really is just about writing down how you feel. And I know for many, it's like, it's tough, because it's things that we've bottled up inside that it's hard to release. And I just ask them to write down a couple sentences, and throughout working with them, it's like, at the end, one of my clients now, she's like, I have like 4 pages I wrote today and I feel amazing and free. I'm like, and where were you when we started? And she goes, I just wrote down the 3 things that you told me to write down. And so it's just, it becomes part of that practice. And in doing so, you're creating that space, but you're also like that cognitive flow from your mind to your hand and like that movement. It helps literally like excrete through you. And I always say like when we're working out and we sweat, that's our body, like, getting rid of everything and like cooling down. It's our excretion system. And it's kind of the same thing, because when we start writing, it's a way for us to excrete from our emotions to our hand. And that's how it comes out through our writing, or even through, verbal conversations, talking to somebody, having a therapist, or having that support community that encourages and inspires and empowers you, versus the support system just say, yeah, he was a jerk, or, they shouldn't have done that. And it's like, you don't want that kind of support system, because all that's doing is really enabling and reinforcing what is actually holding you back.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. I was doing some work on my own, and, a lot of times we put ourselves in our box of our identity, but our identity, if we have our identity that's keeping us safe, but we have friends associated with that identity. And if we change and get to our goal, we may have to lose the friends, right? Because they're supporting, for instance, weight loss. I always come back to it because it's such an easy,
because everyone can identify with that, right?
Exactly. So, you want to lose weight, and but you have friends that like to go out and drink, most nights of the week, not right now, but and eat the wings and such, and not exercise, and all those things that are just perpetuating the problem. But you want something different for yourself. And it's either stay with those friends or get to your goals, right? And so sometimes you have to sort of not ditch the friends, but maybe get new friends that have the same goals and or support your goals, and keep those friends for once in a while. But I think a lot that keeps a lot of people stuck. And it's, again, weight loss, but there's so many things in life that they have those friends that are keeping them in that box, away from the tangible goal that's there. So just something I learned that I thought resonated just now when you just said that.
100%. And I always, and that's part of the journey, and that's part of life, is that as you grow, you will outgrow. And it's very important, actually, because if you're still hanging with the same crew from like high school, I mean, you can have your friends from high school, and I'm saying by all means have them, but get more friends that fit those other areas of your life, because you're always going to have the people from high school that have your back because that's where you grew up, and it's awesome. But it's like, I'm just using that as an example, because it's like, if you're now 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, and it's like, that's still the same group. Where have you grown? And that's so important in life, is that if we're not learning and growing, we're holding ourselves back, because we need to expand our thinking and our thought patterns of everything. And I was like, if our level of thinking has gotten us to where we're at, and if we want to something bigger, better, we have to up level our thinking, up level our support system, up level our goals, and it's a constant game of growing and thriving and expanding. So when we're stuck in that same rut, where are we growing? And when we talk about sticking around with the same people and afraid that we're going to, lose our friends and lose our identity if we outgrow those. But technically, what have we done? We've already stunted ourselves, and we put ourselves in this box, which is basically like a self-made prison, where it's like, we're not being free to be us, because it's costing us a relationship that we're afraid to lose because of our identities attached to that. But what's more important, them or you? And so these are really the conversations we have to have with ourselves, because it's we want something better, but what is it going to cost you? And we have to outweigh the risk to reward. And that's just, it's something that I've found for myself, especially women, where we almost have this allegiance and loyalty to our our friends and family. And it's like, whether they're supporting you or not, it's okay to broaden who you are and your support system.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think a lot of women compromise what they want because of their friends, their family, and they're so busy taking care of everyone else, and they don't want to rock the boat and change anything. So they just stay unhappy, whatever part of their life that they want to change. So you're still very much into fitness. What got you off stage?
Um, I competed 2 years ago. Um, and I like it. It's just, I don't find myself in that same space.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like I've gotten out of it what I want. I don't think I want to, I'm not in the competing part for the long term,
Mhm.
like pro cards or sponsors or any of that stuff. I love lifting and eating and doing everything. I train like that competitor every day. The difference is that I'm not, my nutrition's not getting rationed more or
Yeah.
less,
Yeah.
so I have my normal portions of food that I enjoy, but
Mhm.
it's just, I'm not in that headspace for it right now. And I feel like that's really important. So if you're a competitor, you have to be in that right mindset to just be like, this is the goal I'm working on,
Mhm.
where I know that I can't commit to that for myself. So therefore I don't know if I'll ever compete again. I've done many shows and I love it, but I also love living my life in a broader spectrum and doing everything that I've learned and applying it to those other areas, as well as giving back and paying it forward to those who need it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I that's the thing with me also. I loved competing. I love that stage of my life, that phase. And I thought I was going to be in it for the long term until I literally sort of snapped out of it one day because here's what I was seeing. Number one, I love fitness and eating well,
Mhm.
but I don't love when it becomes a job. And there were some times, and towards the end of competition, when you're doing, hours and hours
Hours
of
of cardio.
cardio and you're
Yep.
not eating much and you feel like crap. And, yes, you can see your muscle striations, but you've lost all tissue in your face.
Yep.
And, that was number one. And number two, I see a lot of girls chasing perfection, chasing the
Right.
trophy, chasing the recognition, chasing the
Perfect body.
perfect body, the first place, always getting better. And I honor having a goal and going after that goal and really being committed. But I think that for some women it becomes, I don't want to say pathological, but it becomes that for instance, when I had my first show and I came off my first show, I felt like it was my wedding day had come and gone. Like no one prepared you for the post competition blues. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
very real. Your
Oh
hormones
yeah.
are all out of whack, and,
Mhm.
fortunately, again, I did very well for my first show. So it's not like I didn't do well, but it was kind of like, now what?
Right.
And unless you're chasing in my, another show, another goal with that, I was like, okay, what do I do now? And I chased another show, the two shows the following year, and again, did very well. And I was probably going to go into my third year competing. And then I lost my job in my brick and mortar practice. And it was kind of like snapping out of it because, as you know, as a competitor, it's a full-time job. It's like,
Right.
you have your job and then you have this other job of, of prepping for a
Yeah.
competition, which can take
Absolutely.
upwards of 20 weeks or more. And I just sort of had to stand back going, okay, where are my priorities? It's
Right.
not spending hours in the gym away from my family. I love eating healthy, but not like down to the last gram and like packing it. And so my priorities changed myself. And it was kind of like, what am I doing? I don't belong here anymore. It was
Mhm.
and I'm glad it happened like that because it was a very clear, like, this is not where I need to be right now. And I moved away from it and I don't believe I'm going back.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I
That's
do appreciate what it taught me. Definitely.
100%.
And I have respect for those that continue to compete. So, but tell us a little bit about your book, Chasing Perfection. I see it behind you.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of what we just talked about in that essence where, you know, I didn't realize that I was even chasing perfection. I didn't even like when you're so engrossed in like this self-loathing stage that you just don't like what you see, everything else is happening to you. You just become this victim of your own story and your own demise. And I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like I just wanted an out. And I remember when I first got into fitness as a whole, I saw these girls on stage. So I competed in the bikini division, and at the time, it was a relatively new division.
Mhm.
So I sought perfection in that sense, where if I train like that girl, I will then look like that girl.
Mhm.
So, like I said earlier, it didn't plan out that way, and everything kind of just tumbled to this rock bottom. And I had found myself at the bottomless pit, and I really had to do that inner work and find out who I am, what's holding me back, and why. Like, what's my
Mhm.
purpose?
Mhm.
And so the book
Mhm.
is it's pretty much the unraveling of that with all of the life lessons, and then coming back to stage as a brand new me from everything, flip the script inside out, wipe the slate clean. Like, I say, like, my iOS processor, like, I updated it, and it's like this whole new model. And I went to stage, and then really finding the confidence and the worth and the value in everything that I saw externally and thought that those models could, having the perfect body I can achieve, was all found within me. And it was that cultivation of everything, because I made myself that priority. I knew that there was something more within me, and no longer was my worth tied to other people. And I was done chasing perfection and people pleasing, and really took that power back and stepped into who I am. And the book itself is just it's filled with so much, for reviewers' words, real, raw, and relatable, is that every woman could see themselves in some aspect of that story, and the takeaways and the life lessons and the questions posed in it really brings awareness and insight to that individual as well. So it's a self-help book, but told from like a first-person storytelling. Obviously, it's my story, but it's been received so very well, and I know that it was needed because I needed something like this when I was in that place. And for looking at it as a book, there really isn't one out there for women, especially with that body image, into fitness. And why do women get into fitness for that sake? When I look back and talk to a lot of the competitors, they're in that same space. And it's like, I know it's so needed, because body image, self-acceptance, and, self-love we need more of it. We absolutely do, because if we did, we would be so much better off as like a whole. For how we love ourselves is really how we treat and love other people. And if we're not giving them the best, then we need to take a look at ourselves and ask ourselves, what is holding us back from fully loving ourselves, so that we can become the best versions of ourselves, for ourselves, but for others.
And I think it can pertain to competitors, but everything, we're always comparing, right? Social media is the biggest one right now, for all age ranges, every gender, everything. It's like everyone's trying to look like the next. And it's interesting on my Instagram, because I started my Instagram when I was a competitor. On my For You page or whatever Explore page is always a bunch of competitors still to this day, even though I don't really follow them. It's really interesting. And, just a part of me sometimes go, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, she looks really nice, but it's not for me anymore. And I'm really happy where I am, enjoying my fitness, enjoying my nutrition, and enjoying my headspace, my mindset, and being completely happy with where I am. So I think definitely your book can help that woman, yes, that's stepping off stage and not feeling like she did well enough, and she's chasing that girl next to her that got first place, or the girl who's chasing the other girl on Instagram who's all filtered up and may not necessarily look like that in real life, so important. So I'm not sure if there's any questions.
Yeah, I actually have I talk about social media at great lengths in there as well, and how there's, it's a double-edged sword. It's like, it could be useful, but it can also be detrimental to, especially young minds that are just impressionable at the time. And, for being on a stage, you don't have to be a competitor or even be on stage. It literally could be a, proverbial or metaphorical stage, but how we are showing up for ourselves. And that's really the biggest takeaway in this book, is like, for me, I just happen to step on stage, but other people maybe were chasing that perfection, whether it's the accolades or success, or getting the next job, or taking on another business, or whatever it is. You're going to find that storyline applies to you, because of we're all more alike than we are different. And it's that human element and connection, where it's like, if we're put out there to see the same stuff, we're receiving it all differently, but yet we all got that same message. And we live in that. It's just like, if we don't meet a standard or an expectation, then we fall less than. And so we always are striving to be enough, and how that looks into other people's areas of life, it's all unique to them. But it really is like that same chase. Like, what are you after? What do you want?
And it's interesting you said about the business too. I see all the time, make 5 figures in a day, 7-figure month. And, as a business owner, it's like, wow, like, and of course that's what they want you to say, like, oh, how you doing it? Like, or and not even envious, but I'm sure a lot of people are out there going like, how come not me? And, I'm working just as hard. And, they get that. So it could be on so many different levels, whether it be
Right.
physical or emotional or like success, whatever
Right.
that looks like for somebody. So it's pertains to a lot of different aspects, which is
Right. And it wasn't just for me, and again, on the fitness, because I saw it in other areas of my life. It's like I said, my business, my
yeah.
marriage, my relationships, myself, how I was showing up for them. And it's because I put so much emphasis on what I looked externally, because I didn't like how, like I said, we're a mirror.
Yeah.
So I didn't like myself. Therefore, I was not giving, liking and loving others and things as much as I would have for myself, because I didn't have the capacity. And it really took learning to love myself from the inside out so that I can create this life that I love.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, at the end of it, I found and fell in love with myself for the first time. And that was just so remarkable because, I started showing up differently. I started showing up different in my marriage, in my relationships, in my business, in everything I did. And it was so different, but it was like, it was freeing, but it also brought me everything that I thought that externally would give me.
So women come to you for one thing and then they leave with all these other positive things in their life, right?
Right.
Like,
Because it's all in there. Everyone has it in there. It's just about like tapping in.
I know. Excellent. I love this. Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to actually leave the information for Chasing Perfection below so the ladies can grab it. And I know I'm going to be, definitely.
Yes,
and how can everyone connect with you? Where's your favorite place to hang out?
my favorite place to hang out, well, actually I have two. So it's Instagram, and then also my Facebook community as well. And that's the Confident Woman community. But all of my social media handles are I am Rachel Brooks. My website, iamrachelbrooks.com. So I'm everywhere, but I'm a creator. So I love having Instagram as my jam because of all the cool stuff on there.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your podcast before you go.
Yes. Okay. So
yeah. Everything. Tell us everything.
yeah. Okay. So my podcast is called the Confident Woman Podcast, and my co-host and I, we talk about everything from, again, the whole real, raw, and relatable. So we don't hold anything back, because I know, like I said, everything that I've built as an entrepreneur has been from a place of, service, but it's also a place from that I needed from along my journey. And one of the biggest things that I needed was people to really like play it in everyday life. Like you see, like you were just saying about 5, 6, 7 figure
business owners.
Yeah. And you're just sitting there thinking, okay, well, they're up here and I'm down here, so I'm never going to make it. So there's a big gap, and it causes comparison, and then this whole not enoughness, and then eventually you just kind of shut down. So, it's kind of how we are.
You quit, right? Because you can't see yourself getting there, so you just quit. Right?
Yeah. And you're just like, well, I'm not even going to step off the bench. I'll never make it. So, but anyway, with the podcast, we talk about everything. We talk about the nitty gritty, the successes, the failures. We bring in guests that talk about that as well. And it could be anything from, my co-host is a brand new mother. I've been an entrepreneur for 13 plus years. So it's like, and she is as well, an entrepreneur. So we talk about a lot of like business aspects of it, body image. I know that, for women, we can identify at so many different levels in our life, finance, travel, fun, everything. So basically everything a woman wants to have, it's all wrapped up into one podcast. And we absolutely love talking about it. We get a lot of our ideas from our community, a lot of ideas from, what's buzzing around on social media and how we can address it. And just, we're just two women just having real conversations with real things that happen in our lives, and we don't hold anything back. So it's just really cool, because that really is about owning who you are and becoming your best and most confident self, is just being aware and how you're showing up and what you bring to the table. So that's what we do, and we love it. And we're in our element, we're in our jam.
Sounds amazing. And I think it's a lot of things that women are feeling, they just don't talk about. Right. I mean, I see this in health a lot of times, and I get everyone behind a closed private door, and like, we're talking about things that normally you don't talk about out there in the world. Right. So that's amazing that you're doing that on your podcast. So, well, thank you so much for being here today. This was awesome. It's definitely, my community got a little different chat today, because I'm usually talking all things like gut health and thyroid health and burnout and stress. So this is really nice to take it to the mindset and really talk about confidence from a different perspective. So thank you. This was
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, thank you for having me. This is definitely a great conversation because, like I said, many women we struggle with this, and there's so many different areas as well. But I think just having a different, adding as much value as we can to our
Yep,
communities, and that's really the best way we come,
absolutely.
place of
Absolutely.
service. So thank you.
Absolutely agree. Well, that is it. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Rachel Brooks. And go ahead and show her some big love by grabbing a copy of her book, Chasing Perfection. The link is below. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you know someone who's dealing with a confidence issue or maybe a mindset issue, and you think this information would be super helpful to them, go ahead and share it because, as I always say, sharing is caring and knowledge is a powerful tool. And if you do not want to miss any of my future videos, and believe me, you're not going to want to miss them, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Remember, you can connect with me for free over on Facebook in my free holistic health community called Happy Healthy Holistic with Dr. Renee. And if you are curious what it's like to work with a holistic healthcare practitioner like myself online to get your health in line naturally, I'm dropping a link below for an application to work with me. Go ahead and fill it out and we can hop on a call together to see if working together would be a good fit. All right, with all that being said, we will see you back here next week.